Hello and welcome to Intonation. Why is intonation important? Well, because intonation gives your listener an impression of your attitude and your intentions. Also, knowledge about intonation will make you understand more of what someone is saying to you. I'd like to stress the point about attitude, because when we speak, we want to come across as someone who's interested and positive to keeping the conversation going, and intonation can help you with this, as we shall see. We do not want to come across as disinterested or even impolite. Intonation has a musical aspect, but most importantly it has a communicative aspect, which means it expresses meaning, or it helps express meaning. Now, what is it that makes us understand why these two people come from southern Norway? It is so that in southeast Norway we tend to end our sentences on a rising melody. Hello, my name is Søren Sørpå. Nice to meet you. Now, since those of us who come from the southern part of Norway like to end our melodies or our sentences on a rising melody, we tend to transfer this to English. It may sound a bit strange because in English this melody is used much more seldom, and if you go up, it's usually because you're asking a yes-no question. My name is Ragnhild. It sounds as if I'm asking a question. Now, what do people in the north of Norway do? They tend to end their sentences with a downward movement. Hello, my name is Norald Nordpå. Nice to meet you. Ooh, can you hear how that melody goes down? Now, the good news for northerners is that in English, the sentence usually also goes down. There is sentence melody. Hello, my name is Mickey Mouse. Nice to meet you. However, you probably saw how Norwegian had a lot of arrows going up and down. English has a longer arrow going down, and we'll go on to talking a little bit more about this. We sometimes talk about the Norwegian roller coaster transfer, the ups and the downs. It has to do with the fact that in Norwegian and Scandinavian in general, and many Asian languages, intonation is related to words. Now, what does that mean? It has to do with the tonemes in Norwegian. We differentiate between words by way of intonation. Not many languages do this. Norwegian is one of them. Musa gnager, men musa en gnager. Gnager, tonem 1. Gnager, tonem 2. In Norwegian, tonelag. Båten anløp, men det var et kort anløp. Landet fattig, men flyet skal lande. Tanken, tanken. Leken, leken. Været, været. Hoppe, hoppe. Såre, såret. Now, most of us know about bønner, bønner, but as you can see, there are many words in Norwegian that are simply differentiated by way of intonation only. So, in order to say this sentence, for example, you have to know that it's lokket and not lokke. Lamme and not lammet. Loven and not loven. So imagine how difficult this must be for foreigners. Han lokker lammet inn på låven. No, han lokket lammet inn på låven. We differentiate by way of intonation. So many different words. Look at this. Jenta skriver I en time. Ikke jenta skriver I en time. Kan du peke på rommet? Kan du peke på rommet? Jeg vil være med på leken. Jeg vil være med på leken. And the last one, sola, sola. So, in order to make sense in Norwegian, we have to do this all the time. Da, 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 da. Not so in English. The girl writes for an hour. Can you point to the room? I want to join the fun. There's sunshine at Sola. Because there are no tonemes in English, we don't have to do this up and down intonation movement. We can say the sentences with a much flatter intonation. So, he made the lamb go into the barn. He made the lamb go into the barn. Not, han lokket lammet inn på låven. I want to join the fun. Not, jeg vil være med på leken. I want to join the fun. He made the lamb go into the barn. It's very easy for us to keep going up and down like a roller coaster, if you like, when we speak English, because we're so used to doing this in our own language. You may have seen the Swedish cook in the Muppet Show. He never says a word that anybody understands, but he is very easily recognizable as a Swede because he keeps going up and down. That's what he says. Now, not so in English. If he were to speak English, he'd say, I'm going to make the best Swedish meatballs you've ever tasted. I'm going to make the best Swedish meatballs you've ever tasted. You keep a flat intonation and then you go down in the end. The main tonal movements in English are these. When we talk about tonal movements, we focus on the movement that happens at the end of a word group, because as we've just said, long stretches of words would simply be flat. However, with good stress and rhythm. That's another story. Now we're talking about melodies. Last lesson was about stress and rhythm. We should not forget stress and rhythm just because we're working with melodies as well. Anyway, the main melodies that happen at the end of a word group in English are the fall, da 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 da, or the rise, da 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 da, or the fall rise, da da da. Now, we don't really sing like this, but anyway, to indicate to you how a fall has a downward tonal movement. Ooh. A rise has an upward movement. Ooh. And a fall rise goes down and up. Do. Now, a lady and a man would have differences in pitch. And pitch is the tone level. So when we talk about high pitch, it would be relative for whoever is speaking. A high pitch for me would be higher than a high pitch for a male speaker, of course. And the main sentence melodies then are the low fall. You start low and you fall even lower. The high fall, you start high with high pitch and you go down. Or you start low and you go up. Ooh. Or a high rise, you start high and you go even higher. And a fall rise. So, today is Friday can be said with a low fall. Today is Friday. or with a high fall. Today is Friday. Can you hear the difference? Today is Friday. Low fall, very matter of fact. You're just stating the fact that today is Friday. Today is Friday shows much more enthusiasm, and this is the tonal movement that we use a lot in English. Today's Friday, a low rise. Today's Friday. Sounds like a question. Today's Friday? High rise. I start high and I go even higher. Today's Friday? Can't believe it. Today is Friday. Friday. The fall rise. Really? I'll run through the sentence melodies with this word also. Really. Really. Really? 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 As I said, the fall is the most commonly used melody, sentence melody in English. So let's practice the low fall. As I said, this is pretty matter of fact. So it can be used, for example, when you read a recipe. There's nothing to be excited about. You simply read this. Let's do it together. Cucumber and chive salad. Cut the cucumber into very thin slices. Put salt on it and leave it for half an hour. Wash some of the salt off. Mix sugar and vinegar with cream, pepper and salt. Add some olive oil and some chives. Pour it over the cucumber. Or a recipe for pancakes, how to make those. Put the flour, eggs, milk, oil and a pinch of salt into a bowl or large jug. Whisk to a smooth batter. Set aside for 30 minutes to rest if you have time. Heat the frying pan and carefully wipe it with some oiled kitchen paper. When hot, cook your pancakes on each side until golden. Serve with lemon sugar or honey. Now, let's practice the high fall. It's very commonly used and, of course, the natural melody to use if you want to do a commercial. So let's try these. It's fizzy, it's full of flavor, it's fun, it's Fandango, the new orange drink. It'll make you feel fantastic. Taste the fizz of Fandango. Or, Hopwood sale starts on Thursday, the biggest sale in town. Everything half price or less. Hopwoods, the furniture people. Of course, with commercials you overdo it, but remember, this is the melody that's most commonly used in English, and this is the melody you want to use in order to sound enthusiastic, interested, and polite. The low or the high fall, preferably the high fall. These melodies are used in statements such as I'm studying English. I like it very much. Or with a high fall, I'm studying English. I like it very much. The fall is also used with WH questions. Who is your teacher? When do classes start? Where's the nearest restroom? Or with a high fall, who's your teacher? When do classes start? Where is the nearest restroom? The fall is used in commands. Come on, take your feet off the chair. Or with a high fall, come on, take your feet off the chair. And in exclamations. Excellent! Good heavens! Now, this is a text to practice the fall. All of these are statements or WH questions and should be read with a low or preferably a high falling tone. It's a dialogue between Robert and Emily at the airport. What's the time? 2:10, dear. When does the plane leave? Not until 3:15. Why did we get here so early? Because you said we must allow plenty of time for traffic jams and accidents. Where's my briefcase? What have you done with my briefcase? It's there, dear, between your feet. Emily, where are you going? I'm going to ask that gentleman what they were announcing over the loudspeaker. Which gentleman? That man over there with all the packages. Who is he? I don't know, but he looked as though he was listening to the announcement. Yes, I was afraid so. The plane's delayed. It won't be leaving till 5. How did he manage to hear it if we didn't? Because he was listening. You were talking too much to hear. What do you mean I was talking too much? Oh, dear, never mind. What time is it now, Emily? The low rise is used in yes-no questions. Do you like English? Have you read Hamlet? Would you like to improve your intonation? The low rise can also be used in WH questions when you want something to be repeated. For example, if someone says, it took me 2 hours, and you say, how long? John told me. Who told you? So when tag questions are real questions, you use a rise. You weren't here yesterday, were you? Mind you, this is a real question. Because if tag questions aren't real questions, you use a fall. This is fun, isn't it? This is fun, isn't it? You simply state that it is fun with that tag. The lower rise can also be used in order to indicate special interest, reassurance, encouragement. What's the matter? It's all right. You're sort of encouraging the other person to take part in the conversation when you use that intonation pattern. Also, the rise is used in incomplete units before a comma in writing. I can eat bananas, grapes, and oranges, but not apples. Casual statements too. If somebody drives you somewhere and you say thank you, you don't have to say thank you, which you do have to say if you really want to show gratitude and somebody has given you a present, for example. Casual statements would be okay to say with a low rise. The high rise is used in casual responses as well. Do I? Really? Or emphatic responses that express disbelief or great surprise. What? Are you serious? Here another exercise. There are yes-no questions and answers. So the yes-no questions should be read with a low rise and the statements with a fall. It's a dialogue between a sergeant and Mr. Holmes. Good evening, sir. Mr. Holmes? Good evening, officer. Yes, that's right, John Holmes. Won't you come in? Thank you. May I ask you a few questions? Yes, of course. Won't you sit down? Thank you. It's about last night. Were you at home, Mr. Holmes? Yes, Sergeant, I was actually. I wasn't feeling very well. Were you alone? Yes. My wife had gone to a cinema with a friend. Did you go out at all? No, I stayed in all evening. That is, except a few minutes when I popped out to post a letter. Do you remember what time that was? Yes, it was about 8:30. What time did you say? 8:30? Anybody see you when you popped out for 5 minutes to post your letter? No, I don't think so. Oh yes, just a minute. The caretaker said good evening. The caretaker, Mr. Holmes? Mr. Holmes, the caretaker was murdered last night. The fall rise is used primarily in British English. It's used in warnings. John, watch out! Or to correct something or to express reservation. If somebody says he's 25 and you say, well, he's 26. If somebody asks you what you like, well, I don't like too many sports, but I like tennis. Maybe. It's also used to indicate transition to second part of a sentence. She took the car and drove to London. Here's an activity that can be used to practice intonation. I spy with my little eye. The activity is supposed to be done, or has to be done, in pairs. Student A thinks of an object in the classroom and says, I spy with my little eye something that begins with a B, for example. And then this is a statement, so you have to use a fall. And then student B asks what it is. And these are yes-no questions, so you should use a rising tone. Is it a box? Is it a boy? And student A answers with a falling tone, yes or no. This is another activity. You're supposed to make your partner say yes or no by firing yes-no questions at him or her. And then you should remember to use a rising tone. Are you nice? Are you a lady? Are you a teacher? And then if the partner says yes or no, the partner has lost the game. So instead of saying yes or no, then the student answering, the learner answering, should try to say, I did, I do, that's true, etc., using a falling tone. This is a pretty good activity to practice the difference between the rising intonation, as in, are you a man, are you a boy, and I am, the following intonation. That's correct. Now, to sum up, Norwegian learners' main challenges may be, if you come from Southeast Norway at least, it may sound as if you're asking questions all the time. Now, this is no big deal, but maybe it's worth being aware of that Southeast Norwegian intonation may transfer into English as a lot of yes-no questions. And then, many of us do sound a bit like a roller coaster. That can also be just fun and charming and no problem, but anyway, now you have an idea of what it is that makes it possible for us to identify most or many Norwegian speakers of English. Okay, bye-bye for now.